Hey there, members of the Graveyard, and welcome to our third video in our Monster Hunter Wilds Weapon Guide series, where we will be discussing the full scale and scope of the Insect Glaive. We are 11 days out from the launch of Monster Hunter Wilds, so for the next 11 days, I'll be releasing a weapon guide every day, giving you a full weapon breakdown, discussing the general game plan, and tips for every weapon. This will be accompanied by a hunt against the Doshaguma with commentary about my thought process on how to use the weapon to its fullest. Quick disclaimer, all the footage you are about to see is from the beta, so if you've found this video after the official release, worry not, that means everything in this video is still applicable. I'll be keeping an eye on any major changes happening to the weapons, and if there are big changes after the release, I'll be re-releasing these weapon guides for any weapon that received significant changes. If there's any small changes, I'll probably just leave them as a pinned comment. Now, one final thing that I can't stress enough. I really cannot stress this enough. This video is not for finding out what the best or the strongest things are to do with a weapon. It's not about figuring out the meta. It's not figuring out combo loops or anything like that. This is a video that covers and explores everything that has to do with the weapon's functionality and how to use them and come up with our own conclusions about the weapon, and so that you can think a little bit for yourself and decide if the weapon is for you or not. I will be doing that as we go over the weapon. I'll kind of be exempling how I try to decide, well, do I think I should be using this here? When do I think I should be using here? After we go over the information that we have. So with that being said, let's hop straight into it. Now, the most important part, of learning a new weapon is we want to make sure that we understand the full scale and scope of what it is our weapon can do. So that typically requires being in a nice controlled space so that we can take time to read through all the options that are available and then experiment a little bit with them so that we can at least know what they are. Because I, in the past of playing this game, which I have been playing the series for a very long time, I have quickly tried to jump in to a weapon and just kind of assume that, oh, I learned one weapon really good, this should be no problem. And then because of that, I went weeks and sometimes months not doing very core mechanics to a weapon. And we don't want that. So that's why we kind of get into these full breakdowns. And we won't remember everything on our first couple of hunts. We will forget, but forgetting is getting one step closer to remembering it to do it more often. So learning new things can be frustrating sometimes, but we are just going to try our best to stick to it and keep plucking away. Give each weapon the time that it takes to become comfortable with it. And some weapons can take a little longer than others, and that's okay. Now, the first thing we'll be going over for the Insect Glaive is our defensive options. Now, as far as blocking goes, we cannot block with this weapon, so we won't be blocking, but we can roll. Our roll's okay. It's pretty decent. It's just a standard roll, really, nothing special to write home about, but it does serve its purpose. It is primarily how you will be avoiding things. And the second thing that we can do is that we can vault up in the air with this weapon. And this is done by hitting the right trigger and A at the same time. Now, you can do this in any direction. You can directionally aim it while you are hitting right trigger and A. So we can go to the left, to the right, forward and backward. This is more... This is exampled even further by holding your focus mode with it, which is left trigger. We then can see, if I can do it correctly, timing is a little tight. You have to be really precise on those button presses. But we can go forward, backward, left, and right. Now, what can we do after we have vaulted? Well, let's go ahead and set up good old Wagon Chan here. Wagon Chan is a dear beloved of ours. She helps us test everything. She sits there patiently while we explain things, and then she helps us give examples. So thank you, Wagon Chan. We're going to turn our wounds off for now. We will turn them back on later when we are going over how to destroy wounds with our wound destroying ability. But we can, after we vault, we can do a little air dash to the left, and we can do a little air dash in any direction we want, really. So this is a way that we can kind of get out of the way. If we want to dodge out of the way, say we've vaulted in a direction and we want to go suddenly a different direction, we can. So that's very good to know. Now, let's go ahead and check the notes. And we are going to then discuss. So every kinsect. Now, the kinsect is this little bug that's on our arm. It is a main component of... It's a main component of the Insect Glaive. We have different types of kinsects that we can change under our equipment. And we will get more as we play through the game. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into kinsects because I have a limited selection of them in the beta. But just know that you will get different kinsects. They do different things. The biggest things to take note of are what type of damage they do. And this is important for a section later. And the type of dust that they leave behind. Now, we're going to leave the recover... We're going to leave the recover kinsect on because it gives us another defensive option. Now, we can do something called marking with our kinsect, or with our Insect Glaive. While you are holding focus mode, you can... Oh, I'm sorry. When you are... I'm trying to remember here. Sorry. A little forgetful. Yeah, so when you are holding when you're holding focus mode, you hit right trigger, and that tells your kinsect to keep kind of attacking a certain spot on the monster. We sort of leave this dust that it is attracted to. Now, because we have a recover kinsect, it will leave recovery dust, and this will heal us ever so slightly, but it is a good defensive option to remember so that we don't need to put our weapon away and start healing if we've only taken a tiny amount of damage that doesn't really need to be healed right away, but we can slowly heal over time. That's our defensive options: rolling, vaulting, and then healing from the life powder if we take a kinsect with recovery, the recovery kinsect. Now, we're going to get into the kinsects a little bit deeper. We're going to mainly be talking about the extracts. Now, extracts are a neat little thing. So when you hold down right trigger, you bring up this aiming reticle, and at the bottom of it, you'll see that there are different colors and numbers popping up. We have 1 for red, 3 for orange, and 2 for white, and then there is a green. All of these extracts do something different. So we're going to open up our play guide and go to the weapon controls. We're going to go to Insect Glaive, and then we're going to go to our extracts section and go under the effects. Now, I'll read these out for you as my camera is probably blocking some of this, but our red extract, when we acquire it, it allows us to charge our B attack. Our white Insect extract will allow us to move faster and jump higher with our vault and go farther distances. The orange grants us flinch free, meaning that tiny little attacks and other hunter attacks, they won't trip us up and interrupt our attack patterns. Now, this only works on for very small hits. Anything that would knock you back normally or send you flying on your butt, those will still do that. It doesn't make us invincible to everything. Now, if you have red and white together, you will get an attack buff. When you get white and orange together, you will increase your defense. And then when you have all three, it alters certain attacks and it makes our combos stronger. So, with that being said, we are going to now discuss about how do we acquire these extracts. What are our options that we have on acquiring extracts? Well, the legacy way is you hold right trigger and you hit Y to throw it out and then B to call it back. So you'll aim it at the spot that you want. So we have orange. Let's go find a white. We get the white, we call it back. And as you can see in the top left, we are storing it because we are filling our numbers, our extract trackers. We're filling them as we acquire them. So now we need to find red. It's not there. It's not there. And this is how you kind of need to do things. You find where the extracts are that you need, and then we found the last one. So now we have all three, and this is the mini game of the Insect Glaive. We will be doing this constantly throughout the hunt. Now, once you get all three, you cannot refresh this duration. You have to let the triple buff run its course. It will then expire, and then we have to get more. So we need to discuss what do we do? What's our main thing once we have three of these extracts? Well, we need to consider that we will need to get it again. So we're going to talk about how to mitigate the woes of managing this mini game a little later in the video. But for now, we will keep talking, and we'll get deeper into our mitigating the mini game and our extract management later, but we're going to keep talking about the Insect for now and how to acquire our extracts. So we can charge shooting out the Insect by holding the Y button once we are aiming with it. We don't need to be holding focus mode. We can just be holding right trigger. And again, you know you're holding right trigger when the reticle shows up and you are able to tell which color corresponds to the part that you are looking at. So shooting it, after you have charged it, it makes the Insect do this drill effect, if it would behave. And it goes through the monster. Now, if we look in the top left, we can see all the different extracts that the Insect has acquired. It can store up to 3 at a time. And once we have sent it out on that drill, it will come back to us and bring it. So we got red, white, and green. So that's one other way of getting the extracts. We are now going to talk about how you can fire a marker. So you hold the right trigger, we hit right bumper, and again, this makes the dust. So even when we make our dust the manual way with the mark slash, notice how our Insect is still gathering extract every time it kind of hits the monster. So whenever it gets the ones that we want, we can just kind of call it back, and that is another way that we can acquire our extract. Now, the last way we will talk about is my favorite way of doing it. Is a new thing that has not existed all the time. I call it color poking, but it is simply when we are holding our focus mode, our Y attacks send out our Insect. And as you can see, when we send our Insect out this way, he acquires extracts if we're watching in the top right. So I call these my color pokes because you poke and you get a color. Now, I will say that you do not need to worry about color poking once you have acquired all your buffs. So we don't need to be holding down the focus button all the time, but more on that later. We can angle our color pokes by holding left and right while holding the focus. We cannot get these directional slashes when we are not holding focus mode, or we can, but they are a little harder to control. I like holding the focus mode when I'm going through these directional slashes. Now these are just for like minuscule repositioning. and we can do them in a lot of different directions. Now, I typically like going for the hold forward stab or the hold backwards stab when I'm trying to get very specific colors from the monster and I want them very quickly. They will look a little different. They will look different from each other. So one is a lunge, the other one goes backwards, but they're all very quick single stabs that sends your Kinsect out. The Kinsect flies back. And again, this is my favored way. I sometimes do a hybrid. Our Kinsect that we have right now is very slow. So unless we are point blank on the monster, doing the send out and call back it's a lot of time compared to just one quick little poke and then the Kinsect coming right back, because then when you have to go through 2 swipes, see how we have to like twirl our baton twice to get an extract? It's okay. I do it sometimes when I just need the last one and I don't want to get myself stuck in an animation that's too long because I'm unsure of what the monster is going to be doing. So those are our ways that we can... Those are our simple ways of acquiring extract. We'll now talk about the big attack that we are trying to constantly find windows for. Now, this is called the Rising Slash. Now, we get the Rising Slash by charging our B attack first. We can charge our B attack once we have red, but we can't do this follow-up attack until we have all 3. So we'll come over here. We'll take note that the charge has 2 levels. And of course, we run out of extract right when we're trying to showcase it, which is fine. The woes of one-take videos. We then can see you charge it, and it has 2 charges. Now, the attack will look the same, even if you're at 1 charge. But the damage does go up. See, boom, boom. Now we have 2 charges of it. Does more damage. So essentially, we want to be trying to use this attack when it's at its 2nd charge. Now, there are some growing pains that this weapon will make you go through, because a lot of the combos that you can do, you can be charging your weapon while you're going through them and releasing it for a final up slash. That is a bread and butter combo that I just did. Bread and butter meaning that we do it a lot. It's our mainstay thing. So how do we deal with this mini game? So for our... We'll get into that in a second. That's something that we need to first understand why it's important to learn how to get good at it first. So our Rising Slash is after this big attack. We hit left trigger, and then we hold left trigger and we hit B, and that is only after we do a charged up B attack. Now, as you can see, we got an extract during that. So during that Rising Slash, our Kinsect is going to go flying all around. And all the areas he hits, he's going to gain those extracts to a maximum of 3. And then he flies directly back to us, and we get all of those. So we want to try to make sure that we get off a Rising Slash before our triple buff runs out, so that we can get some extracts back immediately, and we don't have to take as long manually getting them back via our color pokes or manually sending the Kinsect out or marking it or what have you. So we need to try our best to look for opportunities during the hunt to get our Rising Slashes off, which can be hard to find an opportunity. So if we're having trouble finding an opportunity, our colors in the top left will start blinking when we're getting close to running out. So if the monster is just going absolutely crazy and we can't seem to find a window, the best thing that we can do is let our monster, or send our Kinsect to multiple spots. See how we have two colors in the thick insect stored? Well, we just leave it there, and we'll have to keep sending it back out so that it doesn't fly back to us. And then when our buff runs out, we call it back to us so that we can start with 2 instead of starting with 0. This takes a lot of time and a lot of practice and a lot of micromanagement to get good at. This weapon has, I will say that the skill cap of this weapon is situational awareness with your resources, because not having your triple buff makes all of your attacks, they're just worse, all of them. They do less damage. A lot of them have long recovery animations when you don't have the triple buff. Now, for my returning hunters from previous games, getting the red buff, just getting the red buff does not improve our attacks anymore. We need all 3 to have the stronger attacks and moves. As you can see, we'll just get the red buff here. See how we don't get the powered up. In older games, we used to get our powered up attacks by just having the red buff. Now we must have all 3 to get powered up attacks and access. We get access to our charge attack, but it will still do a weaker version compared to having all 3. So we want to have all 3 at all times. There's no reason to sit at anything but all 3 extracts, unless it would come at the cost of your life. So we do want all 3, but we want to do our mechanics safely. Now, let's sort of discuss more about before I get on too far ahead, we're going to discuss that holding, as we went over a little bit earlier, that holding left trigger makes the kinsects happen. Our kinsect goes out when we do our attacks. Now, it doesn't happen with every attack. As you can see, our standard B attack will not send it out. Doing our back B does make it come out. Doing our forward B does make it come out. And then doing our tornado slash, our B follow-up attack does make it out. Now, I will want to say that our triple Y combo, it enables our Kinsect to dash through the monster. And this third swipe here makes it do this big tornado spin around the monster, which enables it to hold a third extract. Now, I believe... yeah, so normally our Kinsect can only hold up to 2 extracts. See, I can keep sending it against the monster over and over, and it won't get more than 2. But if we do that triple Y combo, it pierces the monster and kind of spins around it. So that's another interesting way that we can acquire our extracts. Now, the extracts will take time, a lot of time, to get used to. And most monsters have a uniform. The red is on the head. The orange is either on the front legs or the side or the back, and white is on the back legs. Not every monster has the same biology or the same body shape and makeup. So you will have to painstakingly, and it's not as painstakingly anymore because we can tell by aiming at certain body parts where our extracts are. Back in the day, we didn't have that. You would have to fight a new monster and sit here and go, where's the white? Where's the white? I need the white. Give me the white. And it would be very frustrating. So this has been a huge quality of life change that we now have. Thank you, Capcom. So moving on to our next section, we have our focus thrust, which I will not be referring to this move as focus thrust. I will simply just say it's our wound popper, or I'm going to use the wound pop, or I'm going for a wound pop. And that is just because all the weapons have some pretty crazy names for what their wound destroying move is. I will just be referring to mine as wound popper. So if you hear me say that, this move that we are about to discuss is what I'm referring to. Now, we do our wound popper by holding focus mode, and this is pretty universal across all weapons. We hold our focus mode, which is left trigger, and then we hit right bumper. If we successfully hit a wound, we will do this little backflip, and we will shoot out our Kinsect. Now, you might notice that our Insect is a little tripped out right now. Excuse me. And we're going to call him back. And there might be something that you noticed when we landed our wound pop. Every time we pop a wound, no matter what, we get all 3 extracts. And here we now have discovered our loop, per se. We are getting 3 extracts. We are hitting the monster until we create a wound. And then upon creating a wound, we then want to access our special, sorry, messed up the controls there. Learning, always learning. So we do our special attack. We do our rising slash. That uses all of our extracts. And then to quickly gain all of our extracts back, we want to pop a wound that we have hopefully created during our window of having 3 buffs. Now, I feel like this is the kind of circuit that Capcom has intended for the weapon to play as. So that's kind of what we do. We attack, we get our pokes in, hit different areas, try to create wounds as much as possible. And then when we have created a wound and we see a good opportunity to do our rising slash, we will then do our rising slash and then pop the wound, get our 3 extracts back, and we're kind of just running in a circle, doing that over and over and over. Now, something to note, we can do our focus stab in the air. This is a very cool little mid-air shot, and we get our extracts back. So when we do, so this is the perfect scenario where we have just used our rising slash, and then we kind of find our way over to a wound by using our mid-air dodge to reorient ourselves, and then we get a mid-air focus stab so that by the time we hit the ground from our rising slash, we still have all 3 buffs, and we can continue going crazy on the monster. And believe me, I love going crazy on a monster. So that fully encompasses our Insect management, our extract management, and all the ways to acquire it, and kind of why we are wanting extracts and why we are wanting to pop wounds. So we're going to move on to I mentioned this earlier, we're going to talk about some ways we kind of went about, we talked about mitigating this minigame with preloading our Insect, getting the extracts. Now, my final tip for this, and then we're going to move on to talking about our combos, but the final tip for this is that if you are trying to practice the preload, keeping your Insect kind of floating around, I would say get red and white. Those are the 2 that you want to have. And again, it will try to come back to you if you don't give it commands, but getting new extracts will overwrite it. So we have to do this weird mini game of getting the extracts that we want. And again, this is if you're noticing, oh, you're about to run out. You're about to run out of your triple buff, and you can't really find, you don't have a wound to pop, and you can't really find a good opportunity to this is a little harder than I thought, but again, just pretend that these buffs are red and white. So you will have to keep directing the Insect to stay out but not hit the monster. So you would need to point it in directions away from the monster. And then when your buffs run out, as it see, just pretend it's over there with our red and our white. Our triple buff runs out, we call it back, and then we don't have to start from 0. So now we're going to move on to our combos. And we already mentioned that we need all 3 to do our strongest combos, so that is something we must ensure that we are doing. And we have discussed that we did discuss while going over how to acquire extracts that while holding the left trigger, our YYY combo it's pretty good. It's a go-to combo for needing extracts. And it also, I think that primarily that's what I'll be using it for. Typically you want to just use this Y It's a quick poke. It's a good way to get in a nice single series of damage. But the go-to way for me is holding forward and then hitting a second right bump, hitting a second B attack. So we hold forward and B, and then we hit a second B. And this is kind of our quick opening damage dealer. Depending upon the opening, will either go for this and roll to the side, or if the monster's opening is distance away, I will then hit B and then hit forward B and then hit B. Now, I do not like the forward Y stab unless I am trying to get my triple Y. So if I'm ever trying to close the gap on the ground, I always want to do forward B. But as far as combos go, we really only have triple Y and triple B, and then our B combo. Now, we can be standing completely still and do B, B, sorry, hard to showcase this weapon. You constantly need to get these buffs going. 3-hit B, which is our neutral way, so we don't travel any distance. So the real depth of our combo game comes from holding our B button while we are doing our combos. So as you can see, we can charge. I'll do my standing Y attack here. We can charge 1, 2 while we are doing our Y combos. So the ideal way to do this is stand still, do the second one, and during this we have charge up to level 2 of our combo. If you're on controller, the way that I do this is that after I hit Y with my thumb, I then hold it with this section right here. I hold the B button with this section of my thumb, and then hit the second Y with the top part of my thumb. This takes a long time to get used to, especially during hunts, to remember. Now, if you don't like that way, which I can't imagine why you wouldn't, it's completely easy and not arbitrary at all. You can also, while you are doing your forward B combo and your second B follow-up combo, after you hit B the second time, so you hit it the first time, and then you hit it the second time, double tap the button and hold it after that second B input. Again, this is tricky and it will take practice, but I found this is the easiest way to execute the... And then as you can see, by the time we finish recovering from that animation, we had enough time to go charge. Charge. I'll showcase it one more time. So pay attention while I'm doing this series of attacks. We go B, 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 hold 1, 2. And while there's some layover time on the charge, which is why I think that the way that I prefer, if the monster is completely down, I like doing the Y holding B, because we get the second slash here, and then it perfectly is timed so that there's no like kind of dead air as we wait for that second charge. So that is going to be something that you will need to practice and get used to. Now, if you see that a monster is just starting a big attack and it slams down, you can just pre-charge, and then the second it has missed its attack, you can let loose. I would say that this is the most bare bones way to access your charged up, your strong descending slash. I just call it the charge attack, and then get into your rising slash. And that's about it for combos. I will just retouch up on the fact that to use these quick little sidestep slashes, they don't do nothing. They actually do some pretty decent damage, and they can, say you start on the leg and the monster trips up. Need my extract. Wagon-chan, give me my extract. Say you are hitting the leg, it trips up, you can then kind of reposition over to the head. Don't forget about this dodge slash either, which can be done at almost any attack, and then just hitting back B. So now we're going to talk about our aerial attacks and our usage. Now we're covering this part last because we used to, in earlier iterations of the game, stay in the air for quite a long time by using this move right here. It used to bounce us off the monster, we used to go back in the air. Well, not anymore. Now, mainly, our aerial attacks are for repositioning. Getting out of the way and then landing where we want to so we can continue our grounded attacks at spots that we want to be hitting. As for example, if let's say that the monster, I was hitting it does a charge attack that heads further towards the exit of the area that we are in, and then it goes charging over that way, I can vault and then hit its backside, and then hopefully during that series of attacks, I'm hitting the monster and traveling over it, and then I'm landing at its head, its nice juicy head where it takes the most damage. That is one example. Hopefully during the commentary section where we hunt the Doshaguma, I will showcase the repositioning capabilities of the weapon and how to use them. Now there's one final thing that we are going to mention. Before I shoot myself in the foot, let's check my notes. Yeah, so this is the final thing that we're going to talk about. In the air, we have a dive attack. Again, a very strong reposition tool, but it gives us access to our rising slash. If we hit just B without charging it, we will do an immediate pull down. Again, strong for repositioning. Like say we overshoot, we can hold back in the direction that we were shooting away from. Let's say like this is the head, and I overshoot the head for my vault. Well, if we face our camera towards it and hold our left stick towards the duration, we will reorient ourselves and land where we want to. Very strong for repositioning. Our aerial move set is all about getting out of the way or getting into the way of things, or getting into the way of things that we want to be at. So when we are in the air, we can charge our B attack. And after charging it, it gains us access to the strong descending thrust. Now, charging the B beforehand, as you can see, if we hold B, actually, I don't think we need to hold it beforehand. I think if that we just hit vault. So it does seem to charge to level 2 faster if we hold B before going up for a vault. See how it kind of goes ding, ding when we have pre-held the charge? Now, if we don't pre-held the charge, as you can see, we hit level 2 as we are hitting the ground. So there are some ways to mitigate that, of course. And that is by extending our time in the air with our Y attack. And as you can see, it kind of stalls us long enough so that we don't need to worry about holding the charge attack before vaulting. We hit our spin. The second we hit our spin, we hold B. And then by the time that the attack is over, that Y attack in the air is over, we can release the B button and come crashing down. Now, showcasing this one more time, we can use this to reposition and go towards the monster. And then, of course, we can follow up any strong descending, or any descending any charge attack. We can follow up any charge attack, no matter how we access it, with the rising slash. Now, again, and I can't stress this enough, this is a very new addition to the weapon, and I will say that from what I have seen, the change is quite controversial. People love it, some people hate it, but you will be holding down buttons a lot playing this weapon. You will be holding down your focus mode for your Insect assist attacks. You will be holding down the right trigger to shoot your Insect out. You'll be holding your B button down to gain access to your charge attack. So there is a lot of holding, and we can even hold and charge shooting out our Insect. So if you don't like holding buttons while playing with a weapon, then this weapon might not be for you. It's always, in my opinion, the weapon has always been kind of the niche weapon. It's very polarizing. You either hate it or you love it. I've never met a person that is middle of the road about Insect Glaive. So that is going to be it for the full weapon breakdown section. So if that's all you needed, if you just needed a little run through of the weapon to figure out how to get hunting, then I thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy the release of Monster Hunter Wilds just as much as I am going to. For those of you who just maybe want to see it in action, or want to hear my thoughts about how I approach using the weapon, then we're going to get into the live hunt. Now, when we go into our live hunts, we practice good hunter habits. We always restock on our items. Make sure it is the loadout that we want and that we have set up. Gunners, make sure to fill up on your ammo. Start the quest. Doshaguma. And we want to make sure that we are food buffed. Now, in the official release of the game, we will have access to the kitchen. But in the beta, the only thing we have access to is our cooking spit. So we're going to get our cooking spit out. Whip up a tasty meal, so to speak. Oh, never mind. Take two of getting, I hit the A button too soon. Try to predict the menu popping up. Ended up rolling it out. We will be skipping this because I am hungry. This food makes me, seeing that food on the screen makes me very, very, very hungry. So the Doshaguma, with its little wolf pack that it has, it can only be this unshakable bond, this trio that has been raised through life, the Immortal Brothers. It's easily broken. This fellowship is easily shattered by a giant cloud of poop. And quite frankly, I don't blame them. So we're going to follow the monster. It's going to be heading towards Mr. Sandworm. He's going to make a pit of sand, and this guy's going to fall into it, and they are going to just struggle. So we're going to be talking about things that we can focus on. So we want to be making sure we are managing our extracts through all the various ways that we talked about getting them. We are going to make sure that we are trying to be proactive with finding our rising/windows so that we can try to make good use of our extracts. We want to not hyper focus on making sure we hit one area of the monster. We kind of just want to be doing damage whenever possible. And that is because we create wounds by hitting not just one spot. I believe you can only create a wound. Like there can't be multiple wounds in one spot. Once a spot has a wound on it, you have to create a wound somewhere else. So I'm going to go ahead and start the hunt off. We're going to get a little sneak attack off here. This is done by sneaking up to the monster and hitting the B button. We are going to try to roll, and fail. And now we're off to the races, so we're going to be doing our color pokes here. Doshaguma, wait, I need my... Okay. So, these things happen. Sometimes the monsters, they are free-spirited, and they don't want to stay in one spot for very long. That's usually when they interact with a monster while they are transitioning zones. Now, one thing to note, if we are holding down our right trigger, we will not be able to dodge, because that means, because we are holding down, thank you Ledge Chan for blocking that roll. So we cannot dodge while we are holding down our left trigger. This is going swimmingly. We love one-take videos. Never know what we're going to get. I would really just need... This is the pain. These are the growing pains of the Insect Glaive. All right, we have very roughly acquired our first triple buff. And now, again, we're not going to really be hyper-focusing on hitting monsters in the right areas because of wounds. If an opportunity has presented ourselves to attack, we will take that opportunity. We're going to roll inside. We're going to go for some mountage here. Now, while we are mounting, we're going to hop around to the different parts of the monster. Now, when the monster starts shaking you on the part that you're on and your screen gets a little blurry, you hop to another section with the left analog stick. We're using our Y button to do strong knife stabs, and these create wounds after enough stabs. So there's 3 sections to the monster. So as you see, we're kind of traveling up and down the monster. And once we've got all 3, we can use our right bumper to initiate our mounted finisher. And in this opportunity, I'm going to use a Rising Slash because we have created some wounds for us. I'm going to stab it midair, as we discussed. We're going to get that midair shot. And as you can see, we now don't have to worry. We now don't have to worry about manually getting our extracts. We're going to get away from Walchan here. These little swipes. This is not the most precarious spot. Or this is a pretty precarious spot to be fighting this thing. So we're missing some health, so I'm going to let my Kinsect do some work here. We are going to take a slap to the face. I'm going to heal up. Now, putting our weapon away does call back our Kinsect, and that is something to take note of. Get some free damage here while he runs away. So a little rough start, but that's okay. We are learning. And acquiring the Kinsect buffs takes a lot of practice to get used to. So as we are, see that tiny little bit of health that we're missing? So we're going to try to start this section, this next little arrival destination that the Doshaguma is taking us to. We're going to try to make sure that we are getting our marks. Now, as you can see here, our buff in the top left has a timer on it, 3, 2, 1, and it kind of goes away when our triple buff goes away. So it's a good way to take note of how much time we have left. We're going to Falling Boulder this. And as much as I would love to use this time to go a little crazy, we're going to take this time to instead hit the monster. We're going to get getting all of our extracts. I'm going to go for a no dice. Try to go for a Rising Flash into getting that wound. We were unsuccessful. Now, missing the focus thrust, or wound popper per se, puts us in a very long recovery window. So we want to make sure that we are taking our time when trying to... Yep, we rolled the wrong way, and that's all right. We're going to mark the monster. Not worry about hitting the weak spot. And now that it's stunned, we can take this opportunity to go for a charge attack. Now that the monster is exhausted, I'm going to try to be a little more proactive with my attacks, and that we can safely kind of see. God, that attack, it always trips me up. Reposition time. Then we can do a Rising Slash after that. Got a bunch of red stuck against Walchan, which is fine. We're going to get our extracts here. Go for some strongest slashes. He rears up. Now this is an opportunity for us to reposition. See how we kind of go over the monster, and then we're able to reposition. That was probably a good Rising Slash window. But as we are unsure, we don't want to commit to things that will kill us. Gonna just go ahead and get out of the way of his attacks with our dodging. And try my best here to lead him under these rocks. Right there. If he would stop paying attention to my cat, that would be great. I think there's a way to call your cat to you. We're going to stand right here so he doesn't overshoot it. That should hand him. Nice. So we're going to go for a Rising Slash here. We're going to do Y. Y. Release. And then Rising Slash. We got a knockout because our Insect is a blunt Insect. So the more Insect attacks we do to the face, the more knockout value we produce. Blunt damage makes knockout to the head. One, two. 1, 2, 3. Getting a little low on sharpness here. Take this opportunity to sharpen as the monster runs. He ran into a thunderbug. That's hilarious. See if I can just get some free damage here. And he's going to start taking off. So all in all, while we're not doing everything perfect, it looks like my theory about the attack buff wearing out and then our insects wearing out was incorrect. So good to know. We're learning. And these are sort of the things you want to happen. You want to try to make assumptions based off the information that you have, and then keep an eye out for whether that information stays consistent. That way we can either prove or disprove our own theories and our own ideas that we think the weapon does. Always be looking out to test your ideas to make sure that they are sound. Because upon first discovering something, we might assume that something is one way. We have to be making sure we keep an eye out when we are initially testing and we are initially learning things. Good Lord. This man, he needs help. Will somebody help this man? I'm not going to. This is a good opportunity. Do damage. Rising Slash. And after receiving in my opinion, a not so deserved butt kicking, the Doshaguma will very quickly limp away. I typically find that when monsters lose the turf war or just have a turf war in general, they they run away. Rolled the roar. I think it's the first time I've done that successfully. I forgot about the follow-up. I couldn't see. Usually there's like a cracked ground indicator for him doing that follow-up, but because we are in the dunes, I can't see it. So I was unaware. He hit me through the dune. Okay, we're experiencing some interesting hitboxes here with this dune. I'm actually going to get away from it. The game doesn't seem to be behaving around that little lip. Actually, just going to try to go for a wound stab here. This thing needs to calm down just a little bit. And as I would love to trap it, okay. All a part of learning. All a part of learning. Just stay safe, heal up. Try to get your footing. That's a roll catch. That move, he has like a wind up. He can change its orientation if you roll too early. So you have to be careful. I am really not a fan of fighting in this area. I wish I thought about dung potting him sooner. For the sake of this video, we are just going to keep suffering. He did the thing again. It's hit. I can't see it. It's the cheapest tactic I've ever seen. All right. So, not going to sum cost fallacy this. I'm not having a good time fighting this thing here. So we're just going to dung pot it. Make it go somewhere else. Because not the most ideal situations for fighting. Hopefully he leaves. I don't know what he's doing. Thank God. This is the Doshaguma I fought before. This was very, of course, the one I wasn't recording. It was very copacetic and willing to work with me. This one is going out kicking and screaming as much as he can. I blame that lightning bug. Or the Ray Shao, the Rao Shao, I don't know what it's called. Getting our extracts. Nope, we committed wrong. We committed incorrectly right there. Take this opportunity. Finally getting some decent loopage here. Ugh. That's okay. We have to overcommit in order to learn where we can. Finally seems to be on death's door. Those roll timings, not ideal. Gonna see if we can make it over. Again, these dunes, not the best situations for hunting. But that's okay. We can't always have a perfect hunt. Some of the hunts are messy. They're grimy. We have to get down into the trenches on some of these hunts. Unfortunate. Oh, thought that attack was coming for me. Gonna heal up again. And it's okay to take time to heal up. Trying to get a wound stab there. As you can see, make sure you are hitting your wound stabs because I got stuck in a very long animation after missing it. We missed it again. That one underneath his stomach seems to be pretty tricky to get. So we've got 2 heals left, which again, this has been quite not the best showcase of performance, but hopefully by making mistakes, I'm showing you what not to do, which is why I don't like to only showcase a perfect run or a flawless run, because I feel like that if we are only watching a perfect run, then we don't have the tools or the expectations that are appropriate for learning the weapon. We need to know what to do when things are not going well, how to recover from these situations. We're gonna get our red buff here. Call our Insect back. Get as close to the monster as possible. Gonna get the midair shot. Ow. I forgot that he kind of fights back after wound pops. Go for another hit here. That was a little greedy, not gonna lie. Getting a little impatient because the hunt is becoming frustrating and long. And he's been on death's door for quite a while, and I'm sure that if I had been playing better, he would be dead by now. But again, not every hunt can be perfect. Have to keep that in mind. It cannot reinforce that enough, that when we are new to a weapon or new to new mechanics and a new game with new monsters, with new habits, cannot stress enough that not every hunt is going to be pretty. In fact, it's going to be very not pretty. It's going to be ugly, in fact. I did not get the white buff. Silly me. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and use a trap here. Safely, hopefully. In he goes. Try to get over to the head. Just because it's a safe opportunity. Rising slash, and he dies in the trap. Pretty good finish, if I don't say so myself. So that's the hunt. Not the cleanest, not the fastest, but we were trying our best to remember to use all of our tools. I may have forgot something. I don't think I did any examples of using a full Y combo while the Insect is out to send it out and get a multi-hit. But hopefully this gives you an idea of what things should look like when you're starting with the weapon. Again, I didn't want to get too much practice before recording these because I want people to have proper expectations on how things should look when you are new to something. Excuse me. It's hard to learn from a perfect showcase of a weapon, a speed run, if you will, because we then don't see how we recover or make the best out of mistakes. And it takes a long time to get to the point to where we are making very little to no mistakes on every monster. So I hope you've all enjoyed this demonstration of the weapon. And with the things you have learned in this video, I hope that you can now begin to draw your own thoughts and conclusions about the weapon, and if you think it's for you or not, or if you're curious to see if you can figure out things that I didn't figure out. And I also hope that we all take the time to not worry about what's meta or what's super strong or what's not super strong, and just enjoy learning the game and have fun with it. Because I have been playing Monster Hunter for a very long time, since I was a kid. And through those years, I've made amazing memories. I've strengthened amazing bonds with my friends, and overall have just enjoyed my time with the series as it has evolved. So with that, if I missed anything, again, feel free to let me, if I've missed anything, let me know down in the comments. And if you have any tips of your own, feel free to share. Or if you just had fun hanging out with me while we did this full breakdown in the hunt and learned something or didn't learn something, give me a like. Everything helps. So that's all for now. And as always, I hope you have a great day, and we'll catch you on the next one.